but something had started to pave the way for further advancement in society. The first steps of a process of empowerment, empowering, building capacity, which of course should lead then to liberating, in the sense of giving women more autonomy and giving them the chance, the opportunity to become pioneers, to lead, to become leaders in some sectors of society. It was these are the roots, in a way, of a process which is still in theory, of course, despite further achievements of the last few years. So, and what can we say? Are these state-led policies of empowerment giving really women more chances, more opportunities to gain autonomy and to become even leaders in their society? In a way, they do. Of course, there are some restrictions, some limitations, and the debate is open. However, something is there, and something is there to be continued, hopefully in an evolutionary, positive way. So thank you very much. I give the floor to my colleague, Dr. Rafiah. Can you hear me?
Rafiah? Dr. Rafiah.
I need to unmute myself.
Is she going to use the same presentation?
No.
Could you turn it off, please, Elena?
Yes, I turn it off. Yes. And okay.
Can you see mine now?
Yeah. Now make it.
It's a full screen. It is full screen for me.
No. You need to make it more. Press the first button to the right down.
The last button in Teams?
No. In the presentation, the lower line, you know, where you can increase the size.
You mean
you found the first one? Yeah. Press on the first screen. Image of a screen. Yeah. I see your.
Yeah, but the problem I can't see it because of the Teams. I don't know why it's. Okay, hold on.
It's visible. Just carry on. It's okay.
The problem I cannot see it because it's under.
Yes.
Under something.
Yes. I can't reach it. Yeah, this is the problem. I know where it is, but I can't do anything with it.
All right. Then,
so if it is okay, is it too
Please
small?
go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
It is visible, yes.
So thank you, Elena, and thank you for all of you for the first for the invitation and second for the attendance. I am really excited. I am usually very excited to give for a small groups than bigger ones, especially who are really specialized and interested on the topic. So in the topic, so I'll talk about Omani women in the new era. I have a very short introduction. Generally, Omani women emancipation represent a gradual and pragmatic model of empowerment in the Gulf, guided by Sultan Qaboos' modernization reforms. It integrates education, state-led inclusion, and cultural continuity. It's very much like King Abdullah in Saudi Arabia, as Elena. Sultan Qaboos was like the leader who made the difference for women in Oman. So before 1970, women's role limited to domestic and tribal spheres. Post 1970 Renaissance, they call it Al-Nahda in Oman, equal access to education and healthcare, and that made a lot of changes and differences in women empowerment in Oman. Literacy among women rose from 20% or more than 20% to over 80% by the 90s. Education became the cornerstone of women's social mobility. And political participation and governance in Oman. Oman was the first Gulf state to allow women to run for elected office in 1994. A lot of people think Bahrain was, but it's Oman. Women now serve in the Shura Council, State Council, and Judiciary, and also they are appointed for the government, I mean, the executive branch of the government. Political participation remains state-managed rather than generally than activist-driven. And I think in Oman and also in the Gulf, all policies, and especially those regarding women, are top-down policies, and they are well managed, and it depends on the advisors around the decision maker or the decision makers. As also Elena mentioned, that King Abdullah has his daughter, for example, Adila, who believed in women rights, women education, and it's the same, I think, in Oman. But I attended once, and the only one, in fact, the only opportunity I had, Sultan Qaboos visited the university, Sultan Qaboos University, when I was a master's student. So he told us the story when he decided to have the Sultan Qaboos University and with boys and girls studying in it. And he said he got a lot of resistance from most of his government people and from the society, but he decided to have this university regardless. And that is what we believed. That was his, conviction that Omani women should have equal opportunity and also equal role in the development of the countries in the 70s and the later in the 80s. Then these two women are the first women elected for Majlis al-Shura in 1949 and 94, sorry, Shukur al-Ghammari and Taib al-Ma'wali, and they still have positive impact, and they had positive influence on younger women, including myself. In 2003, I ran myself for the elections in Oman, and they both stand with me, and they stand by a lot of other Omani women who ran for the elections. Unfortunately, since then, we couldn't raise the number of women representation in Majlis al-Shura. We couldn't have more than two in each term, and sometimes we had only one, and sometimes only once we had no women representation in Majlis al-Shura, like the current situation. So education and economy mobility. Women represent over 60% of university graduates, and I think this is the case in most of the Gulf countries, and 30% of the workforce. Empowerment linked to Vision 2040 and entrepreneurship programs. Challenges, gender roles and opportunities, limited childcare and employment, and other issues. We'll discuss them later since the time is very limited. So cultural continuity and social reception. Omani society integrates empowerment with Islamic and tribal values. Modernization framed as a national duty, not as Western feminism. Result, gradual social accepted empowerment with minimal resistance, since it comes from the government, it comes from the decision makers of the country, since it's within a national plan. So women and leadership. Female leaders include ministers, head of women associations, elected and appointed members in councils. The appointed council is the state council, where always we have more women than Shura council, since they are appointed. But my point of view that we still have few women comparing to men in the state council, since the Sultan, who actually appointed the members of the state council, can appoint up to 50% of the council of women, but it never happened. They were like around 12%. Women lead in academic and diplomacy and civil society. And in fact, Oman was among the first, if not the first, who appointed, for example, a woman ambassador in Europe and in America. Reflects managed empowerment, the women leadership in Oman. Structured inclusion under state oversight, and this is very important. So Elena mentioned, not Elena, Hatun mentioned Sharif al-Yahya. Elena also mentioned her, in fact. But then, she was the first social development female minister from 2004, 2014, and 12. And why it's important to mention that, because the social development ministry is the ministry which is in charge of women issues and gender issues, but also like the family issues. So, you know, usually there isn't a women ministry by itself in the Gulf, but rather I should talk about my country. So it's always included with something else, like the family or the child or whatever. So institutionalized gender equality within national law. So what I think in Sharifa, she did a few things that are important for women, since she was like the first woman minister for this ministry, and she cared about women issues. And I have to mention that she herself was an academic. She was a professor at the university, Sultan Qaboos University. She studied in the West. Hadoun knows her very well. They are friends. And so I think that helped. And when we talk about empowerment, and I think there are 2 or 3 factors are important for women: empowerment, education, and of course, financial independency or stability, and then conviction that unfortunately we have women with, you know, skills and education, but maybe they don't care a lot about women issues or women empowerment. But then she was one of the women who actually cared, among others. So she strengthened legal and civic autonomy for women. There are a few laws, like, for example, a woman can, in fact, marry herself in front of a judge if her father, for example, didn't want her to marry. And also, women reinforce Oman's alignment with international social development conventions like the CEDAW. It was signed and ratified during her time, elevated the visibility and recognition of Omani women in public life. So these are some of the laws actually changed in Oman. Some of them, a major one, I would say, but unfortunately then it was abolished for everyone. Anyway, so a man or a young man can have a land grant in Oman since ever, but women are not allowed to get one because they think men are responsible for the family. But then this is changed, and then it was allowed in 2008. But then, and unfortunately, women couldn't get these grants because the number was too high. And then the government decided not to stop like the grants for both, and they created a new system. But then that was something recognized that time, because women became, in this case, equal to men. So very quickly, this is some of the things also. I told you about the marriage. So let's go to the now. Okay, Oman's first lady. So since Sultan Haytham became a sultan, we had a first lady for the first time, and she is active, and I would say women liked her, but men didn't like, especially when she appears this way. She is not with a proper hijab, and so in the beginning, when she was appearing in the social media, doing some activities related in the beginning, especially to childhood and child support and all the things, but then a lot of men in the social media didn't like. In fact, she appears, since she is the wife of the Sultan, this way, and also like she is not wearing the proper hijab. That was a big issue. But then there was this law issued in Oman, that we shouldn't criticize any, like the Sultan. That was the law in Oman since the 70s. But then after all this criticism, we have a new law, and it was, we cannot criticize anyone, that the Sultan or his family or anyone related to him anyway. So anyway, so we have, of course, a new, as I say, we have a new figure, which was important. And in fact, I interviewed Badriya Shahi, and she was that time, she's a state council member, but then she was also the vice president of the state council president, the vice president of the state council. And we talked, in fact, about women empowerment in Oman and how empowering to have a first lady who is active in the public sphere. And she was very, in fact, optimistic, and she thinks she empowered a lot of women to be active in the public sphere since we have the first lady, out there and talk, act anyway in any issue that she cares about. I would say that until now, like I didn't see that the first lady has a special agenda on women themselves, like or specifically on women issues. So in occasions like the National Day or the Omani Women Day, the First Lady would publish or will give a speech, and her speeches or how she views Omani women is typical the government view that we know about how they look into women and women's role in the society and also in the government. So the First Lady described Omani women as a source of national pride and pillar of development, which is this development system. Since the 60s, the role of women was linked very much to the development of the society, and it is integral to the country's future. Women's contribution to education, employment, and social life are indispensable to Oman's progress. Empowerment is framed within a state-centered vision of development, emphasizing national stability and shared responsibilities rather than activism. Reflects Oman's commitment to balance modernization rooted in national values. And this is very important to stress it. In fact, it's always in Oman, there is something is like we have to keep our values while we are modernizing. And sometimes it's tricky because you don't know where to go to modernization and leave some values which are not, for example, useful or they don't contribute in the advancement or the development of the society or the empowerment of women. But then this is very important when we have this public discussion about women empowerment. Is like, okay, you can do whatever, but you have to keep your, values, your social values and religious values in your mind, and you cannot, skip them. And then, that there is the ready accusation of following, if you want to say something different, of following a Western agenda, which is not an Islamic or not an Arab, cultural values that they respect or even would consider that it has some values. Most important, leadership support and institutional feminism. I would say that the key message that we have always, empowerment is sustained through leadership, trust, and state endorsement. Even the society, the regular people, ordinary people, would think anything come from the government, even if sometimes it's not exactly within the values. So, for example, if a woman is not with hijab, for example, right? We mentioned about the First Lady. It's okay if she is like not only the First Lady, sometimes even if she's a minister, but then they will accept it because the government accepts it. So it is sometimes tricky in this way. So we don't know what the value they are, supporting, I mean, the decision maker, and what the values they are not supporting. But then people usually would follow, not all of them, but at least they will stop criticizing. Leadership support, social confidence are decisive in advancing women participation. Women are portrayed as embodiment of wisdom and generosity and all the things. Anyway, this reinforces a top-down model, as I mentioned, of empowerment, where progress is guided by the state vision and any advancement or any new laws, it will be always reflected to the wisdom of the decision maker. Even if there was some pressure from Omani, I still say it's not because of the activism, but sometimes there are some pressure happens. And I would like to say, mention when Elena said most decisions in the Gulf of making women or appointing women as ministers, it was post 9/11. You know, the Gulf countries found themselves under a lot of pressure to modernize and to at least lift accusation of, I wouldn't say terrorism, but it was one of them, and they want to seen as an open societies in the world. So this pressure met, I would say, with women aspiration to be more seen and more active and more engaged in the public sphere. So Oman's approach represents a form of managed institutional feminism, gender equality promoted through symbolic recognition, elite advocacy, and policy integration. Women's inclusion strengthens national legitimacy and cohesion, but remains bounded by existing political hierarchies. Oops, I'm sorry. Empowerment, while real and expanding, operates within a rentier governance model, emphasizing stability over structural change. So challenges ahead: persistent underrepresentation in private sector leadership, and I would say also in the Majlis al-Shura and in the government. Cultural expectations influence mobility and work-life balance. Education employment gap. Many graduates underemployed. So in Oman, we have a chronic unemployment problem, but what is mentioned in the media and in the speeches, the government speeches, that the shabab, the male shabab, youth unemployment, but they don't mention the female unemployment. And it is much more, in fact, than the male. And all of them, I wouldn't say all of them, but almost all of them, like between 80 to 90% are graduate of university, or at least they have a higher diploma. And so this is the unemployment of female. They don't talk about it because in their mind, they will get married one day and then someone will take care of them. And even if in their families, someone will take care of them, which is not true at all, because they are sometimes, many times, in fact, like myself, the oldest sibling, for example, in the family, and then they will take care of their families and of their male brothers, in fact, and nobody will recognize this as a real problem in Oman, which is very sad, in fact. So this is Majlis al-Shura, Majlis al-Dawla, I'm sorry, the State Council in Oman. So this is the biggest representation of women appointment. We have now, I think, around 12 or 15, but not sure the number, but around that. And they are all well-educated and long career experience. These are the conditions, how they appoint them, men and women, by these two factors: well-educated and long career experience, state feminism and women rights promotion. Actually, I wrote an article about this. I mentioned when I interviewed the vice president, who is a female, and we talked about these issues. So I don't want to press, so I miss everything, but that was published at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace /SADA. Maybe you'll find it if you write my name. I think it's interesting. So also these two women, you see in here, they are the only two women ministers in Oman now in the executive branch or in the government in Oman. We used to have up to 4 women ministers in the government, but imagine now we have only 2 in the government, no one in the Majlis al-Shura. And I think while we have this state-led empowerment, I don't think we are in a better space. We just are like a status quo, like something didn't change. So Oman, generally, Oman exemplifies balanced female emancipation through education, governance, and cultural continuity. women's empowerment is steady, inclusive, and deeply national. The next phase, transforming symbolic inclusion into structural equality. And I think it's good if the government would include women activists, women. We have a lot of women associations, around 60, I think, but then they are very much limited in their activities, and also they are not really engaged on putting or writing or drafting or proposing any policy or laws that are like on women issues or regarding women issues. And thank you for listening. I hope I didn't take a lot of time.
Thank you both. I think we have listened to two lectures in one. What a double whammy we've had today. So the two lectures, thank you to both of you. You have covered Saudi Arabia and you have covered Oman. And this is really important because it complements the lecture we had before on the UAE. So we are really covering the whole region and how women are faring in these regions. I think what we are going to do is to take questions. And if we can take a couple of questions at a time, and then we will see who these are addressed to and address them accordingly. So the floor is open to questions. Please do ask. If there is no questions, or while we are waiting for questions to come, oh, there is one. Al-Fawz, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Can you introduce yourself? Briefly, 2 sentences, who you are and which institutions you are based in.
I'm a Saudi female writer and academic, and that's enough, I think. I have a question. Unfortunately, that I missed the part on Saudi Arabia, but at least I attended the one on Oman, and that was very inciting. And I wanted to ask, because I felt very little way was given to the Women Association that the speaker ended her lecture with, because she said we have a big number of women association, but unfortunately they are not active enough. And I think this is something to count on more than, to me at least, or in my views, to count on more than counting on what the government is doing only. Because this is really where you can reach the real people through them, those associations, and the real women. So, and the women of the, of the society. So I wanted to ask, what is the reason for them not being active, and what can be done to make them more active and more involved, and to make them have a say in the decisions? I mean, that's very important, instead of just counting on Al-Majlis Shura or the government decisions, etc. We need really to associate not only with the first ladies or the female ministers, but we need really, crucially, to identify ourselves as people who are concerned about women empowerment with the grassroots of women movement or of women existence. So what can be done for that? Thank you.
Yeah, this is an excellent question. In fact, one I wanted also to ask. We are talking a lot about a top-down program, state feminism between brackets, rather than a bottom-up movement that really knows what it wants and what it needs. And not only that, but when it's a bottom-up, it motivates more women, it spreads awareness, etc., etc. Maybe you could answer this question first, and then we will see if any other questions come through.
Yes, sure. Thank you very much. So, brief story. When I was writing or doing the interviews for my PhD was the experience of women in the elections in Oman. So most of I wouldn't say most, but many of them, they were head or members of Omani Women Association. Okay. And they wanted to run for Majlis Shura because they saw a lot of things and they want to participate in the policies and the lawmaking in Oman that related to women issues. And they kept telling me, we saw this and that, and so I understood totally what they are saying, because okay, we have around 60, and Oman is divided or into 60 states. We call them wilayat, and they're like districts. So each of them has a women association, and they are called Omani Women Association, جمعية المرأة العمانية, and they are all work under the Ministry of Social Development. So it's under the government. So they are not really free. So if any activity they have to have the permission. I didn't mean, let's say, they are not active. They are active, but more as a charity organizations, more than they are, as like women rights organizations or participant in policy making regarding women issues. And that's what is sad, because I do believe myself it's more motivating to have a bottom-up, policies, because that's what people want, and you just deliver to the government what people need, and you just do it for them, right? But then I think in the Gulf, of course, Oman, one of these countries or governments, all the the decisions, they have to appear that they came from the decision makers, from the rulers, or from the minister or herself or himself, but anyway, from the government. And this is a big problem, because, for example, the visions, the 2040, the 2030, the 2020, all of them, the sad thing about them, that not only the government, wanted them, it's like they actually, their advisors are from outside the country. For example, the Saudis, and Hatun can engage in this discussion, Vision 2030, I think they asked McKinsey to do this, or to help with it. And when it came to women issues specifically, there was a lot of challenges are not seen, by an outside advisory, or what they call them, houses, like the houses that advise the government to do things, like McKinsey. Just forgot the name. Okay, anyway, so, and women could see that in Saudi Arabia. Also, like women in the Gulf, we could see the challenge, the social and the cultural challenges that they couldn't understand. And even if they know them, they don't know how to deal with them. So the same thing for the Omani Women Association. These women who ran for the election, some of them, like one of them won in a previous, election, but then still it's limited, because even Majlis al-Shura, when they reach there, they don't give Majlis al-Shura the powers, the legislative powers. The government, when I say the government, is like the Sultan, because he is the head of the government, and then the ministers, and they have more power over Majlis al-Shura. And that the state council itself, because it's appointed by the Sultan, has more power even from the elected Majlis, which is Majlis al-Shura. So the hierarchy in Oman, if they say the government, which is led by the Sultan, and then the state council, and then Majlis al-Shura. And then they have a lot of also dynamics that limits the activity of Majlis al-Shura by itself. So going back to the Omani Women Associations, they do a lot, but as I mentioned, is like helping women in this and that, is more as a charity. Okay, family issues, sometimes even they cannot help when it comes to court, for example, divorce issues, nafaqa issues, all these issues, because they need lawyers, and they can't do it they can't do this for women. And that's why I think, okay, they are active, but they are active, but in a very limited activities, or there are, activities that are very limited, but they cannot, sometimes, okay, it's good if you come from a big family or like sheikh family, and you are close to the minister or other ministers, so you can have some lobbying. And I think Sharifa, that's what she did, in fact. She had some ministers, male ministers, I have to mention this, who were like, okay, they don't mind this, that. And then I told you also the international circumstances post 9/11 and all this, and the Gulf went to, okay, appointing women. So that helped. But then, anyway, issues like these, we've been writing. So Hatun mentioned my professional career. I am a journalist too. So it's not not only like and I write research or scholarly papers about women, but also as a journalist, I covered a lot of issues that related to women issues, and I am specialized on women and human rights generally. So that's what I do. So I see a lot of things, whether in Oman or in the Gulf or other parts of the world, how women issues are treated. And it's very sad because it's almost the same everywhere, the hierarchy, the patriarchy, and all the issues. And then when you have women want actually to do things, there are a lot of limitations. And it's just difficult, but I think that shouldn't stop us anyway.
Thank you very much. Rafiah, maybe Elena, you can bring in an addition for the Saudi part on the same issue.
Thank you, Zahia. Yes, I share the view just expressed by Dr. Rafiah. Institutional constraints were there, of course, in the period I considered, and are still there, not only in Saudi Arabia, in Oman, but I think in all the Gulf region, Gulf Arab region. There are so many structural constraints which remain strong. And of course, the process of empowerment is real, but at the same time, it's difficult to give associations a more prominent role and autonomous role. This is the challenge, because we have empowerment, but we can't really talk of autonomy. And so this is the big challenge facing Gulf societies today. And of course, involving more women, more associations would certainly be more promising for a better future for women. But the system, the institutional structural constraints are still very much hindering. This is, I think, a fact. So I really share the view just expressed by Dr. Rafiah.
So basically, these are institutions that are government appointed by the government, and they run according to the government agenda. This is how state feminism works. I mean, I like how you explained, Rafiah, how in every wilaya they have a bureau or an office, but these offices are all tied to the structure, which is always the top-down structure, and there is no liberty of doing anything outside the agenda that is set up by the state. This is state feminism, and well, I don't know whether I would say that it evolves eventually, because this is how it was in Arab countries like North Africa, Algeria, Tunisia, Egypt especially. And then with certain events, women broke out of these institutions because they became obsolete with time, and they had no power when it came to crucial moments in history where women really needed to change things. These institutions were obsolete. They had no power, no vision, and they became like celebratory kind of institutions. They just celebrate national events, etc., etc. But you need really something to come from the ground by women themselves without the control. I think time will do it. I mean, this is my view. I saw
Can I add something? I would add something. Once I wrote an article comparing between Saudi women and Omani women, and that just before 2000, before the Saudi women, or just after the decision that they can participate in the election. So what I thought that the Saudi women can, in fact, do more than the Omani women, because there was kind of Saudi women movement. Because so and women gathered together to have their rights, political, including the mobility and driving the car and all the issues together, mahram and not mahram, traveling, not traveling. So we see this in the social media. We saw it, women, they will jeopardize their freedom, they will go to drive and they will be in jail and all the things. One of them, and a lot of women, they still suffer because of their struggle. So but in Oman, we didn't have a women movement. We didn't have a women movement, and still we don't. But then there was a small group of women who come together or from time to time to do some noise or try to do something. And since Oman is a small society too, comparing to Saudi Arabia, sometimes it's effective, but for a very short time, because as you said, it has to have a collective of circumstances that helped us. So when Sharifa she was my sister-in-law. So we talk a lot, we argue a lot, we fight a lot. Okay, so it's easy for me. And also we could organize meeting with women. I was myself a member of the main women association in Muscat, which was established by the Sultan Qaboos mother himself. So it's considered like the fort of women. But then most of us left. Myself, I left a year later after my appointment in that one, because I thought we couldn't do the thing that we want to do, because we have to ask them. Even when we had a friendly minister, okay, that time, who was Sharifa, things we proposed, she told us she can't make the decision by herself, because they consider it as like a top state issue, and no, that will make a change that they are not ready for. For us, we said women are ready for it, and we know that. But then we couldn't do it. So I left a year later, and other women, they left, afterwards, after a year or two. But then I thought that was a good time anyway, because we didn't see a better time since then. But it wasn't like the perfect time or the time that I would say we had a women movement, but for at least a year or more, we had this noise, and people in the government, they paid attention. They negotiated with us. We had some meeting with very important people in the government. And what you want, they ask us finally this question: what do you want as women? And we told them what we want. And then they told us, okay, we'll give you the experience of being the board members of this Jam'iyya, this women association in Muscat, because we wanted to form our independent one, which they didn't, they never approved it anyway. So that is the story. It's hard, but then I think the younger generation, I think they are brave. They now, I think they are courageous more than us. We had a lot of calculations in our mind, older, I would say, because we are more linked, of course, to the society, to the values, to all the things. Always when you are the first, you put in your mind a lot of things. You don't want to, to lose everything. You don't want to lose the link with the people or with the government. So you are like playing a very careful game. But then I think the younger generation, I want to be optimistic, in fact, because they don't actually care, the things. So they say what they believe and they do what they believe, even if the society doesn't like. But then what we need, these things to be institutionalized, it's the laws themselves, they should change. For example, it's a shame that this law that a woman cannot pass their nationality to their kids until now, it still exists, it's like, why? But then anyway, we had some laws. It's like, I think it's positive changed, but we need also like a courageous woman or a man, a feminist man or woman who can tell the government that, خلاص, we should change some of the things, because people not only ready, people act, differently than these laws. They don't care whether their kids now will be Omani or not be Omani. خلاص, they will marry the person they think they should marry, and that they just should give them more, facilities and space and friendliness to stay in their countries.
Thank you very much, Rafiah. I just want to make a little comment. Sharifa is my student. Okay, and now I have another Omani student, and I can see the difference between Sharifa's generation and this generation. And what you said is right. Things will happen with the younger generation, maybe. I think we have somebody waiting first, Hatoun, before you, and then just follow up, Hatoun. Please go ahead.
Yeah, Rima.
Rima, please go ahead, and then you follow straight, Hatoun, and then we had answers. Tfadali, Rima, go ahead.
Hello, thank you. So I'm Rima Smandar. I'm a Syrian, and now I'm an MA student at Ergugu, which is the Russian State University for Humanities at the Faculty of Journalism. My question is for in Russia, yes. Thank you. First of all, thank you all for this great webinar. Thank you, Dr. Hatoum, for the great invitation as well. My question is for Professor Elena, or Elena. I'm sorry, they say Elena in Russia. So you talked about women empowerment in Saudi. Everything was up to notch, but I just have a question about bridging the digital gender gap when it comes to attracting women in spheres like cybersecurity, AI, or IT, because we can see that there's a subtle gap between females and males in these areas. So if you can brief me on that. Thank you.
Welcome.
And Hatoum follow up, and then we have answers for the both questions.
Well, you
okay.
may.
Okay, Elena, we have to to obey here.
Sorry.
because because we are running out of time.
Yes.
Okay, let me just say that. Okay, this cat is. This was very interesting to listen to you, Elena, reminding us of of a time that has passed. The time of King Abdullah. It feels like ages ago.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and it reminded me of all the battles that we fought at the time. So as Rafiah was saying, all of these achievements that happened during that time of King Abdullah in women's level were actually the work of women, because Saudi women were pushing for the boundaries right and left. They were breaking many taboos for a long time. If we're talking about the time of King Abdullah, so we're talking about taboos of about 20 years earlier. So the question is very interesting. Is the comparison between what we had that time and today, and whether we could see that we are living in a continuation of evolving improvement of women's status. I know it's very difficult to give a final answer to that, but it's the question has to stay there all the time. During King Abdullah, the negotiation between women and the state was very rich and very active, I believe. Something that we don't see it today. Today we were seeing a top-down decisions that, okay, they are meeting with what we were calling for, but it's not us directly who are doing it. So I wonder how you look at it. How do you assess this situation, and whether it's a sustainable situation or not? And I would comment on something Rafiah mentioned. You were talking a lot about the Shura Council. By the way, Oman for Saudi women was always considered to be very advanced when it comes to especially the Shura position, because we're talking here about elected Shura in general. I mean, in Saudi Arabia, it's all appointed, even though in 2013 we have 30 women appointed, but still they're all appointed. Luckily, there were a few of them who were very active. I don't think they knew about them. So they activated the Shura Council and made it lively. But again, I was really disappointed in hearing that the experience of Omani women in the Shura Council was this unempowering and this weak. weren't they able to, didn't they have the powers to present issues and defend them, vote for them? I don't know. This is what Saudi women are doing in the Shura Council of Saudi Arabia. They are keeping on raising and lobbying together with men, with same mind men who are supportive, and they created a interesting lobby that matched what was happening outside the Shura with women movement and so on. Okay, I think I'll leave it to you now to answer.
And shall we take another question?
There is one more. Zubair as well, yeah.
Yeah, there is one more by Shireen Zubair, and then your answers, with your answers, we will close because we are running out of time. Shireen, go ahead, please, and unmute yourself. Shireen, can you please unmute?
Yeah, I did unmute myself, and
okay, now you are unmuted.
I'm sorry, I have a very basic question. The most interesting question. Can you hear me?
We can.
A very basic question is about the inheritance law. What is the inheritance law in, anyone could answer who knows. That's it. I mean, do women get equal, the girl child or whatever, daughters or sisters, they get equal share in the property, family property? That's my question.
Thank you, Shireen. Thank you. Over to Elena and Rafiah. Go ahead.
Okay, Elena, unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So answer your questions. I start by Rima about the digital divide. Actually, as regards the period I considered, I think that one of the most impressive aspects was that during that decade, actually, this digital divide between males and females was bridged because women, Saudi women, started having a major role in using the socials. In particular, Twitter was very much used in those years. And so we can't really speak of digital divide. And even now, I mean, the use of internet and in Saudi society is very widespread, both between among women and men. Of course, when it comes to cybersecurity, digital cybersecurity, and more technical aspects, this is something different. But when it comes to the use of the digital sphere of socials to promote the campaigns, to promote, to make some, to draw attention on some issues, women were very much active, and they are still active. The problem is that, of course, as Dr. Hatun said, in those years there was a negotiation between women and the state, which is something that is no more there. So in those years there was a top-down approach, which was balanced, however, by initiatives. I wouldn't say bottom up, because, however, it was an elite. It was a group of very learned women, intellectual women. So, but however, women who were active in society and who knew directly the problems of their peers. So there was this top-down, bottom-up balance in a way, which is no more there today. And there was another aspect related with reinterpretation, with ijtihad, which was in a way started cautiously, very cautiously, but this was something which was also related with the alliance between intellectuals, businesswomen on the one side and the leadership on the other, in order to make the advancement conceived within an Islamic framework, which was, however, answer, in a way, guarantee a sort of ijma, of consensus, and not strictly top down. So this aspect of negotiation is very important to remember. And then for inheritance law, well, maybe Rafiah will answer, but everything is very much thick in content yet. So no changes, I think.
Very quickly, I think it's the same in the Saudi Arabia. It's like the inheritance in Oman is according to Sharia Islamiyah. And so it's like, it's a basic law. I think even if the government left it to the people, people will follow it anyway. And I don't want, to take a side, but then I think most of you know the concept of Islam, why is that? But then we have this discussion, I have to say that far, we had this discussion in Oman also about the inheritance, because as we mentioned, Omani women generally, or young girls, after they graduate and have a job, they will take care of their families, and they feel, many of them, it's so unfair. For example, they help their parents, they built the house and everything. After the father died, her brother will get, double what she gets. So instead of talking that we change Sharia al-Islamiyya, which is like, you understand, extremely sensitive, extremely difficult, it's like if the parents or the father would change, or at least write something or put the rights of the girls, before he dies. But then, and I hear Omani women will discuss this thing because they think it's not fair under today's, circumstances. Basically, I work, my husband works, we have kids, we participate almost equally, or sometimes even women, they will participate more than their husbands. And then when he died, she will get only 1/8 exactly. And then if she dies, he gets 1/4 of what she left. But the thing is, like, not to the kids, but then even when they talk about the al-mas'uliyya al-iqtisadiyya fil Islam, the financial responsibility in Islam, it's on the man. But men now, they don't do it fully. That's what we say. That where they negotiate. What if men, they don't take the responsibility, the full responsibility. They in fact expect from their wives, for example, to participate in everything. And now young Omani men, for example, they will say 1 in 2, they prefer a working woman over a woman who is not working. Even if they say, for example, "Khalas, we want her to be like Rabbat Manzil and she will take care of the kids." It's just not true. Like 90% of them, at least, they want one who is working because they support them. So in this circumstances, like, at least we call again, fuqaha and everyone to consider the changes. And that's how Sharia Islamiyya changed over the centuries, because the circumstances of people changed. Even earlier times of Sharia Islamiyya, Hatun would be better than me in this, change from a country to country, or from part of the Islamic state to another part, because the circumstances of the people. And even during Prophet Muhammad's time, there was, when a person will ask about something, he will answer him or her according to their circumstances and understanding. Not only this, and if a person is like more intellectual or has more, say, fortunes or anything, he also will answer them according to their circumstances. So I think this is time. I do, in fact, for example, when my father died, I was the eldest, like, in my family, small family. It's not small, but then it's second anyway. So I helped in a lot of things, and then they are my sibling, my brothers. I like them, but then I couldn't have the reason. They will never, spend money on me. I know this, but still they'll get more than me. But then a lot of questions, and now it's even harder for me to explain this for my daughters, for example. You see, so this is where we, start to even ask ourselves questions about things we think, and it's okay, we understand because we lived it this way and it was explained for us this way. But now we live something else, and even our kids, they live something not related to the generation before us, you see. Or so this is where I think the questions come from, and hence we need to find logical and convincing answers for them.
Yeah, I think this is a very sensitive issue, and you will find that the situation from North Africa to the Gulf to other Muslim countries is completely patchy. There is not one way. Although the Sharia is the Sharia, the law is the law, people find other ways to kind of circumvent the law. Can we allow one more question, although the time is finished? There is Alex insisting on asking question, and he's the only male voice that we have here. So Alex, we will allow you. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much. I wanted not to ask actually, but it's just to triggering basically to not ask. So I just wanted many questions like in detail, but maybe just a good link where you can see different Sharia laws and interpretations, how they differ by country. Like it's possible with original and Arabic according to the countries, and also English or any other language, like if there's some general resource like that.
We will, yeah, I think if you leave your email address, sorry, go on, Hatun, sorry.
Yeah, when it comes to inheritance and all these issues, the controversial issues in Islam, the organization that is taking care of it globally is called Musawa, and this is an Islamic movement for equality in the family laws that is based in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, but it covers the whole, mainly the Muslim world, whether it is majority Muslims or minority. And the issue of inheritance has been one of the hot topics, and there have been many ijtihadat introduced to the concept of inheritance, or to this Sharia. The point that they were trying to make is that by negotiating the roots and the objectives of Islam in this or that law, and apply it to the modern times, and whether it's still valid in its rigid composition, or it could be modified. And so there has been a lot of discussion and a lot of moving blocks, if you could say, that allows for a change in an equality in inheritance in a certain way. I think even in Tunisia there is a new law that appeared, because the issue of inheritance has been very active there, and many new ijtihadat and new fiqh jurisdiction solutions that are coming out by Muslim thinkers, men and women thinkers as well, who are providing solutions, alternatives, new interpretations. And it's not only about inheritance, about qiwama, about wilaya, about all of these very disturbing concepts that are making the lives of Muslim women a bit sensitive.
The law was pushed in 2017 in Tunisia, was proposed, in fact, even by the president. It caused a severe backlash. The whole community, was up in arms, not only in Tunisia, but in neighboring countries, because people were thinking, oh my God, if they do this, it will be a mess in the whole Muslim world. So there was a lot of resistance to that. In the end, the law didn't go through. However, what North Africans are doing, fathers especially, they are donating the inheritance to their children on equal basis. But this is not the law. This is
Yeah,
based
personal
on the
thing.
will of the fathers. Some
Yeah.
fathers do it, some fathers don't. But I mean, worse than this, we have to remember that many women in the Muslim world don't even inherit what the Sharia ordains. Inheritance is completely taken away, and they don't inherit anything.
Yeah,
Especially
this is
in
another-
rural areas.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Saudi
I
Arabia.
think we need to organize a session on inheritance and bring some experts and have another session. But today we have really run out of time. We've gone 15 minutes over. So
Yeah.
thank you very
So,
much indeed. We really enjoyed your company. Thank you, Elena. Thank you,
Thank you.
Rafiah.
Thank you.
So
It's
sorry,
much
Fatima.
stimulating
Sorry.
and thought-provoking.
Thank you very
much.
Thank you very much. Very
Everyone.
interesting
Thank
discussion.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We hope to
Bye.
see you in the next session.
I didn't say, yeah, the next
Totally.
session,
Fully.
yeah, sorry, the next session will be with Dr. Yafa.
Yafa
On the
Shaniq.
13th. Yafa Shaykh. It will be Shaykh in 2 weeks' time, by the way. It's on the 13th of May. Dr. Zahia, do you have any idea of what her topic will be about?
Dr. Shaniq is from SOAS, and I think she's going to speak about. I'm not sure. I don't remember. I'm not sure I remember the exact topic, but it is to do also with changing laws regarding women. But she is also focusing on the Gulf region, touching on the workmanship in the Gulf,
should come
female
in,
workmanship in the Gulf region.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
Yes, and how the laws can, yeah. So I don't remember the exact title, but it will be announced immediately after this session. So thank you all, and we're really happy to have you. And Alex, please come back.
He is the feminist man.
We
Yeah.
want
I
some
tried.
diversity.
I
We
didn't
want some
manage to
diversity.
register and find the link.
Yeah, and sorry, Fatima, Awati, she had a question, but
She has a
inshallah,
question.
next time you can leave your question in the chat.
chat, and we will get back to you. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Elena.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Rafiah.
you.
This was really a
Thank you,
great
Hatuna.
session.
Thank you, Zahia. Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very
Rafiah.
much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Yeah.
Manar, there is Samia. There is still, yeah, okay. Manar is with us.
Yes. Manar, are you here?
Okay.
Yes, I am with you. I'm still in the
Okay.
university.
Oh, الله يعطيك العافية.
والله
شفتي؟
يعطيكم مليون عافية يا جماعة.
يعني today was a bit mess.
Yeah,
I don't, actually until now I am on a hotspot.
Oh.
I